Boeing South Carolina plant was about building a second capability to manufacture 787 aircraft. The first being Everett, Washington. The second being put in place to be a buffer against potential labor and/or physical plant problems in Seattle. So Boeing was very interested in building that capability. It was also judged as a very high-risk proposition to build in a part of the country they weren't familiar with, to find the crews both to build the facility, which Kenny just described as a huge facility, on an 18-month schedule, and the aircraft we're building exceed $200 million a copy. So delays in the schedule were a really unthinkable problem to the company cash flow-wise. So very important. With the pressure that a schedule like that brings and all of the international publicity, there's also a lot of attention to safety. And of course, the thought of safety incidents to Boeing being linked up with our commercial airplane business is also an unacceptable thing. So really an important part of our selecting of the contractor was what is your safety record? How are you going to perform so that we won't see headlines that link our brand to safety incidents? So you can see amongst the expectations, the bidders had to provide a risk register to talk about what's going to get in the way of meeting that schedule and what could cause problems both to meeting the schedule and to safety. They also had to provide a safety plan to us ahead of, with their bid, so we would understand how do they plan to manage the safety challenges of the project. It was a huge job, and we had an existing plant. The production of our fuselage sections for the Everett plant were already in place in Charleston when we began the expansion project. So we had to make sure that whatever we did in Charleston didn't interfere with that production and the safety of the personnel that were on the Boeing site at that time. In order to do that, we introduced an incentive program, both to incentivize the schedule, but more importantly, the safety. And the safety was much heavier weighted in our incentive program to B&K than the cost and schedule, which was kind of unthinkable as a project manager, you know, that we could be on an 18-month schedule and something was harder than that for our contractor. We also set an expectation in that incentive program for teamwork and cooperation. So the contractor got style points or deducted style points if they weren't open and honest about problems that came up and addressed things and worked with us about solving things together. So it was all about working together to manage safety on the site. Go for Zero is Boeing's personal safety program. So we wanted to make sure that nothing the contractor did was counter to the thoughts that Boeing had going at the time for Go to Zero. We introduced on the Boeing side a safety assessment process where we did weekly assessments of a lot of different categories, looking at the safety program across the whole B&K statement of work. We gave them weekly scores. Oftentimes we walked the site with the B&K employees. And our intent at the end of the day was to encourage behavior that met our expectations for the job. And on the other side, to provide financial benefit when those expectations were met. We also did safety assurance, and you can see all the measures that we took relative to that, participating in the subcontractor selection process, making sure that the EMR and OSHA things were complied with, and very capable subcontractors. We met in pre-construction meetings to make sure we understood what the contractor was going to do to ensure safety. We took a look at their hazard analysis ahead of time. Again, looking at are they looking at the right things? Do we have any concerns? And weekly safety assessments as well. So we at Boeing did not want to own the safety program, but we at Boeing wanted to assure that B&K carried through what they'd promised. The incentive program was, again, tied to a lot of things. and written to encourage behavior, and particularly safety behavior. The safety category was tied to proactive safety management, and we had a PMCM contractor that oversaw that for the Boeing forces. And so, just in summary, I'd like to tell you, at the end of the day, we brought the job in under budget. We brought it in 18 months, which was well ahead of our original requirement, and allowed Boeing to build an extra airplane. And I mentioned to you the extra airplane was a $200 million product plus. So that's bottom line performance for Boeing, really a good thing. And more importantly to Boeing, brought in with zero lost time accidents.